I would be a buyer of Tesla at current levels.
I see significant upside in Tesla from current levels.
And I also believe the stock, you're starting to now see just so much bad news reflected in the name. Deliveries already came out. And I think we could start, right from here, I think the worst could be in the rear view.
I think this is the year that fundamentals make Tesla go even lower than where it is right now, because I just think all of the pillars of the bear case are really going to play themselves out in 2023.
In this video, as Tesla stock surges higher, the debate rages on. Has Tesla stock hit the bottom, or does it have further to go? A few experts and or dumbasses weigh in. Does anyone know what number comes after 171? I'm just kidding, I know the answer. It's the number of exclusive videos I've posted on Patreon. If you're not a member, you really are missing out. You can join with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment, if you can handle it. You're almost guaranteed to get triggered by at least a few of those videos, if not the majority. Fair warning. So Tesla stock surging higher today, almost 6%, closing just under $120 per share. So far, a solid start to the year. To put things in perspective, over the last 5 days, Tesla stock up just a little. And to put the last 5 days into context, let's check out the last 1 year. We can see that's us down there, that tiny little speck in the corner. Interestingly, if we look over the last 1 month at daily volume on Tesla here, significantly above average. And we're talking up to double or more Tesla's moving 3-month average volume. A lot of people buying and or selling Tesla stock in the last few days, weeks and months. Volume of 110 million in mid-December, 176 million, 146, 141, 122, 139, 139, 160, 145, 210, 167 million shares traded, 209 million shares traded, 221 million shares traded, 222 million shares traded, 158 million, 231 million, 180 million, 158 million, 221 million shares. Obviously, a lot of this volume has been selling, hence Tesla stock down almost 30% over the last 1 month alone. And in the last 1 year, bit of context, down 66%. Totally makes sense.
Tesla is cutting prices and extending delivery times for its vehicles in China, decisions that have sparked ire among those who already own Musk company EVs. For more, we're joined by Yahoo Finance senior autos reporter Praz Subramanian. Praz, what's the latest here?
So, we saw those price cuts on Friday. Led to some protests this weekend in places like Shanghai and Chengdu. Owners upset that they pushed their order, their purchase ahead of time, ahead of the new year, because they wanted to get those tax incentives to get the pricing. But now they're saying, hey, what's with the price cuts? 10% for the Model Y, 13.5% for the Model 3. Not happy about that. Tesla China says they're not going to offer rebates, refunds. Sorry about that. But a good thing for Tesla is that we're seeing wait times for some of the Model Ys extend a week or so out, because it's potentially the fact that these price cuts have ginned more demand up here in the country. So we're seeing that happen with the Model Y long range and all-wheel drive going up to 2 to 5 weeks for delivery in China. So that's a good thing for them. But this is potentially more demand in a really highly competitive Chinese market.
I'd be pretty angry, man. 10% to 15%, just like that. You'd want that back.
You missed the sale, you're out of luck.
You missed the sale, you're out of luck. Fair point. Now, I just have to take a moment here. I understand if you buy something and then the price changes later, wow. But physically going and protesting at a store, you may as well have a sign on your head saying, I'm a fucking moron who doesn't value my time. Professional victim who'd like to complain about shit. Exactly what is spending a few hours traveling to a Tesla store and protesting going to do other than A, waste your time, and B, make you look like a fucking moron? Answer, nothing. Hate to rain on everyone's parade, ladies and gentlemen, but the overall trend long term on the price of Tesla vehicles will continue to be down. So if you don't want to get fucked over and you want to make sure you pay the absolute lowest price possible, wait forever before you buy a Tesla, because in forever, it'll be cheaper than it is today. Just saying.
You're right. Free charging.
You're right.
Yeah.
Something.
I don't know. We'll see whether or not it really actually boosts demand in the long term here.
I know it may be unclear to some people as to whether or not the pricing adjustments will have any impact on order flow and people buying vehicles, but allow me to illustrate the point because it is actually quite clear. You ready? On screen now. Price, demand. Slight decrease in price, huge increase in demand. Another slight decrease, huge increase in demand. That's how it works. Don't know how else to say it.
Well, Tesla owners in China aren't happy about these recent price cuts. Footage from Chengdu over the weekend shows dozens of customers showing up at a showroom in the city. This amid reports of similar activity at various distribution centers as customers vent frustration at the changes, demanding everything from rebates to credit. Now, the EV leader cut prices by 6% to 13.5% on certain models on Friday, stoking concerns of a growing price war in the nation. Now, of course, after a tough year, short sellers remain laser focused on the group's shares. Though at the end of December, CEO Elon Musk said he would not shed any more stock in the company, and that's after months of selling. Well, joining us now is Dan Ives, Senior Equity Analyst at Wedbush Securities. Good to see you, Dan. I first want to start with obviously this consumer backlash that we've seen in China. There was a price cut in certain models in October. Again, you saw the subsidies come off in December. People thought they were in the clear. So this really on Friday, this another price cut really hitting home for a lot of consumers in China.
Look, but Tesla had to rip the Band-Aid off. I mean, in terms of price cuts, what we're seeing in China, I think they could still cut prices another 5%. And margins, I think could be relatively range bound. I mean, soften a bit because of the scale that they now have in terms of Ginga Shanghai. But ultimately for Tesla, it's about getting in front of this, not behind it. And ultimately, I think if you look at what growth's going to be in China after these price cuts, I think it's going to be strong. A strategic poker move by Musk, I believe, that was a real smart one that they did early.
And this was something that they really needed to stoke demand. It appears to be working. We're seeing some reports from Reuters saying that there could be now delays in some models because of the spike in demand. What do you think this does, though, when you look at this picture for Tesla's bottom line?
Well, we were hearing that from Chinese consumers. I mean, any types of work that we've done, they had to cut prices. And this is after price increases, clearly a softening macro. And look, I think for Tesla as well as others, in terms of autos, not just in China, but globally, I mean, the clock struck midnight. You're starting to see cracks in the armor in terms of the macro. They need to cut prices ahead. They have that flexibility because of much more scale globally. And I think it's the right move. And I also believe the stock, you're starting to now see just so much bad news reflected in the name. Deliveries already came out. And I think we could start, right from here, I think the worst could be in the rear view.
So Dan Ives suggests that maybe, in terms of Tesla stock, the worst could be in the rearview mirror. In other words, we've hit the bottom. Just to add some context, Tesla stock now close to $120 per share. Dan Ives' current price target on Tesla stock, $175 per share. What's the bet? Given that this is a 12-month price target, what's the bet that between now and 12 months from now, Dan Ives has increased his Tesla stock price target half a dozen times, chasing after the stock, assuming that the stock actually does what Dan Ives thinks it might do and rebounds from the bottom and moves higher from here. My guess is that throughout 2023, Dan Ives' price target on Tesla stock will chase the stock, which may in fact indicate his price target is pure art and zero science. After all, if it was pure science, then you wouldn't need to chase Tesla stock. You'd have a price target that was reflective of the intrinsic value of the company based on the numbers you think they'll do this year. Instead of looking at Tesla stock going, oh, shit, it's close to my price target, better up it another 10%, maybe 20%, get back in the media, talk about price target, green tidal wave, China, Tesla's world, everyone else paying rent, blah, 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 blah. Rinse, recycle, repeat. Just putting this on the record now, so if at the end of the year it actually turns out that that's exactly what happened and I've just updated his price target like 4, 5, 6, 7 times in one direction all year, chasing after Tesla, I'll be able to point back and go, who could have seen that coming? Not me.
And Dan, I mean, as we look at what we're seeing today with the stock price action today, up almost 8%. Obviously, we're seeing the broader markets also up as well, but not to the degree that we're seeing with Tesla. What do you think is driving this optimism?
Look, I think it's a crowded, bearish name. I still think it's under-owned here. I think 70% of the sell-off was ultimately Musk Twitter driven. And it's still one of the most transformational companies over the next decade. And if you're able to kind of see through this, so what I'll call near-term turbulence, I think this is a very attractive risk reward. And I think that's what's really playing out here is risk assets are way oversold. That goes for the likes of Apple, Microsoft, Tesla across the board. And the bears on this name were wrong for 12 years.
Got to give credit where it's due. Some facts were just spat.
They obviously were, very right last year. I think they're going to be wrong this year. I think there's a stock that's going to be closer to 200 than 100.
And I know that we still have, of course, one eye on what we're seeing with Twitter and the distraction there. And you said that the Tesla shares are becoming, quote, a massive risk reward to own. But obviously, you also have Leo Koguan, who's the third largest individual investor in Tesla as well, growing frustrated as well. When do you think this ends? Will it end when Musk finally names a CEO for Twitter and can focus on Tesla? Or will there be some other sort of catalyst to really get things back on track?
Well, I think there's 3 specific things that could happen. One, fundamentally clear the deck on numbers for 2023, said hittable to beatable numbers. Let's call it 35 to 40% delivery growth. Take out that 50% for the year. But the other 2 are non-fundamentally. Gotta name a CEO of Twitter. I believe over the next few weeks, because that's been part of the brand issues and part of the spider web with Twitter, as I think many shareholders have gotten increasingly more frustrated. And just put an edict out there, not going to sell stock, say it on the conference call. That's really been an issue. I mean, if you look at that personal ATM in terms of using Tesla to pay for Twitter. It's in part of the overhang here. Musk started the 5-alarm fire. He's the one that could extinguish it. I believe that happens January 25th when they report.
And I want to ask you, there's obviously still an ongoing lawsuit that Musk has asked to be moved out of California because he believes that it's too negative there, that he'll have a better chance in Texas. And this is regarding when he was planning to take Tesla private at $420 a share. How much does this sort of weigh into sort of brand Tesla and really the trust that comes with the company?
Look, I wouldn't expect any candlelight dinners between Musk and California officials. And there's no level Austin clear. That's why more and more of Tesla is really going to be coming out of Austin and Texas in terms of production. Of course, you'll have Cybertruck. I think over time, a lot more brain trust goes from California to Texas. But look, this is obviously a darker chapter. That we're starting to continue to see some of these issues perk up. But I think for Musk and Tesla, it's about looking forward, and it's around no more brand deterioration. And I think now, if you look at EVs, we're still in the second, third inning of this all playing out after what's been a disaster year for Tesla over the last year with that Twitter overhang.
And you mentioned the Cybertruck. So as we sort of throw this forward, what are the expectations there? I mean, who is this actually targeted to?
Well, I mean, even if you look across the board from F-150 to Rivian to what we see from GM and others, I mean, this is really the year of the pickup truck, or I'd say on the consumer trucking side for 2023 with EVs. Cybertruck's important because not just in terms of what reservations look like, but just to have another product out there that they can monetize. That's a huge opportunity they can go after. And if you look, I mean, see, despite the stock price, what Rivian is doing in terms of the overall demand environment, this is going to be a strong area of demand. Now, I think the key for Cybertruck, making sure that ultimately hits in the second half of 2023, doesn't get pushed to 2024, because clearly that would be late to the game. But this is an important product in terms of the overall ecosystem of Musk and Tesla.
Just quickly on the Cybertruck. Don't know what's been going on other than fear-induced brain damage, but most investors seem to have forgotten the Cybertruck exists, forgotten there's like 1.5 million reservations, and forgotten that it's launching this year. And they've also forgotten that pickup trucks are far and away the best-selling vehicles in the United States. The top 3 best-selling pickup trucks, almost 1 million units each per year. This is a huge opportunity. But hey, the more people forgetting about enormous catalysts like the Cybertruck, the better for me, because I'm still buying, so don't remind anybody that they've forgotten the Cybertruck's coming and that there's a shit ton of reservations, and it's just our secret between us, okay? Good.
I think last year is the year that the bloom is off the rose as far as Elon Musk and all of it. I think this is the year that fundamentals make Tesla go even lower than where it is right now, because I just think all of the pillars of the bear case are really going to play themselves out in 2023.
I'm going to say it. I genuinely, truly, and I mean sincerely believe that Dan is actually the dumbest motherfucker in the finance media. It's nothing personal, this is just an observation. Tesla stock down almost 70% from all-time highs, despite near flawless execution, huge demonstrations of pricing power, unassailable lead in terms of technology, autonomy, industry-leading profit margins, epic scale. You guys have heard this spiel. Despite all of this, Tesla stock having been absolutely destroyed, now at about a $350 billion market cap, we hear Dan here say that he believes Tesla stock's going lower. The bear thesis finally coming true in 2023. I'm not sure if he's on the panel for entertainment. I mean, I know Melissa Lee laughs every time he loses his emotional shit and tries to keep it cool, but you can read a fucking face. Just thinking, what a little bitch. Did I say this out loud? No, you imagined it. Seriously though, this guy has so many meltdowns, especially about Tesla and Elon. It is hilarious. He's not thinking straight. I just really struggle to understand what headspace this guy's in to genuinely believe that Tesla's going lower. Now look, the stock could go lower, right? Anything could happen. But in terms of the weight of probabilities, just about every metric, every data point is suggesting that Tesla is massively oversold. Valuation makes no sense. And like I've suggested, it may be up from here. I almost want Dan's friends and family to stage an intervention, but then I'll have nobody to laugh at.
And then we go to Tesla. So I get all Dan's reasons.
Well, that makes one of us.
I don't really disagree with him. This fits into that it's so bad, it's good for me category. And I think it's been so beaten up in 2022. I think it comes time for Elon Musk to talk more about batteries than cars, more about batteries than Twitter. I think this one can bounce aggressively. I'm long it. I'm going to stay long.
Bounce aggressively. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens, but I won't be surprised.
Tesla has faced steep declines in the past year. We've talked a lot about it. It's down over 60%. Our next guest says, while the stock is oversold, the bottom has perhaps not yet come. Fundstruck Global Advisors Managing Director Mark Newton joins us now. Mark, good to talk to you. It's been a while. So talk to us about what you're seeing in the charts here that leads you to believe perhaps there's some more downside for Tesla.
Do you guys catch that? Julie, tell us what you're seeing in the charts that might indicate the direction of Tesla stock from here, based on your analysis of the chart, because as we know, astrology for stocks totally makes sense. I just can't believe how fucking dumb some people are. Just imagine, hypothetically, that you're a loser. I know, hard to imagine, but just pretend. Just imagine you're a loser and you live in your mum's basement. You hate yourself, you hate your life, you hate other people, you're envious, jealous, just life sucks. And just imagine that you notice a correlation. The last 5 times in a row that you spent all day playing video games and jerking off, a stock went up. You think to yourself, there's a very clear correlation. Obviously, I can read into this. Every time I jerk off and play video games, the stock goes up, therefore I'm going to keep jerking off and playing video games. That is astrology for stocks. The only difference is you're looking at your jerking off habits instead of reading a fucking chart. It's the same shit. The chart will not tell you anything. It's like these morons thousands of years ago. Every time there was a really bad season, the gods are angry, better sacrifice our fucking children to the gods because they're mad. That's why there was no rain. That's why our crops didn't grow. Humans are broken. At least some of them.
Well, I think if anything, one should look at it from the opposite perspective, is that why should there be a bottom when a stock has been down over 60% in just the last 3.5, 4 months? I think, as we approach a new year, everybody always likes to say, well, it's oversold and therefore we can just step in and immediately expect mean reversion. But, technical analysis doesn't really work.
If the comments ended there, this would be a very valid statement. Technical analysis doesn't work. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, he wasn't finished.
But, technical analysis doesn't really work that way. And anything, if 2022 has taught us anything, it's that, it's almost a fallacy to expect that we can just run in and buy our favorite names just because they're down substantially when we're still within a bear market. So, yes, Tesla is now officially oversold. We're getting closer to targets that I think are meaningful. But, a few months ago, I did a number of different interviews and we took a look at cycles and counter trend exhaustion techniques and a lot of things that people like myself using technical analysis like to do. And, at the time it broke $206 back in early November. That's when Musk was selling shares. And that indicated this break of a giant head and shoulders pattern should start to lead the stock lower. Volume expanded on that, really confirming the breakdown. And so, I'm looking right down under $100 right before Tesla's earnings happen, right towards the end of the month. And that's when a lot of my own cycles start to show the chance for a bottom. We could bottom and start to rally into the spring. But, I think just looking at a few point bounce today, it's up, I think at 119 already. Still difficult for me from a momentum standpoint to think that lows are in, and also from a cyclical standpoint. So my work is not lining up just yet.
Mark, what is counter-trend exhaustive analysis, and how does that apply to Tesla right now?
Well, it's some convoluted thing that I do to make myself think that I know what the f*** I'm doing when I don't actually know, because it makes me feel safe and comfortable, but I don't know what the f*** I'm doing. Don't ask me those questions. Stop exposing me, okay? Let's just say that, okay, I know what I'm talking about, and let's move on.
Well, it's one of the tools in my, in my toolkit. I look at the work of Tom DeMark indicators for evidence of exhaustion, not only of uptrends, but downtrends. And I use them amongst many different time frames and on many different indices and stocks. And so those are helpful to be able to buy dips within downtrends and also to sell when something is reaching a possible peak. And so looking at a weekly chart of Tesla, it's simply early by about 2 weeks right now to think that there's a potential low. So that's why I looked at when Tesla's earnings were, and that all of those line up towards the latter part of January. So it makes a little more sense for me that initially this little bounce might be sold, but pulling back over the next couple of weeks would offer some opportunity for traders that might be looking to time better entries.
Mark, I asked this from a place of intrigue and not from a place of pushback, but isn't Elon Musk a bit of an anomaly when it comes to some of the traditional ways to apply technical analysis, given the strength and just velocity of selling that he was doing so that he could finance buying another company?
Well, if anything, as I've been trying to talk to investors about over the last 25, 30 years, it's really important to take the blindfold off and realize that all this news or an outside influence, somebody like Musk, really has very little to do as to how a stock can move on a day-to-day basis. Many people, as you remember, doubted Tesla literally all the way up as it was moving higher And even on the first pullback now, now everybody's on board and believes Tesla. And as it's falling, they're all trying to say what the stock is bottoming, and it's clearly a buy because it's undervalued. Look, that's human nature. We all want to buy low and sell high. If anything, my work suggests that it's almost always better to concentrate on those stocks that are hitting new all-time high territory versus looking to buy dips when the market is still within a bear market. So, to answer your question, I don't know that Musk is necessarily, everybody thinks now that he's distracted or that supply and demand is slowing, supply is up, and those are reasons maybe not to buy. And so, you can actually take those fundamentals along with the technicals and say that it's probably still a little bit early to think that Tesla, has made a bottom.
So we've already heard from multiple experts. Tesla's bottomed. Tesla hasn't bottomed. Tesla's bottomed. Tesla hasn't bottomed. The truth is, nobody knows if Tesla's bottomed, but at some point it will have, and nobody knows for sure exactly when.
Dan, it's great to see you this morning. I think there's a lot of folks who have they've held on. They've been on this wild ride, and they're waiting to know if this roller coaster goes back up again.
Good morning, Andrew. I think there are a lot of opportunities in the technology industry at current levels. Specific to Tesla, they, like others, are being impacted by cyclical forces, and I expect that to remain a factor in the near term. But I think the bigger story there is that Tesla is a leader in electronic vehicles, and part of it is that their business model enables new services like self-driving to be delivered over the air, and I think that's powerful.
What would you do with a Tesla, by the way?
Tesla, I would be a buyer
We've got a big
here
banner
at
on the
current
screen
levels.
here. Say that again?
I would be a buyer of Tesla at current levels.
Well, fancy that. I am a buyer of Tesla stock at current levels and prior levels and prior levels because I'm looking 10 plus years into the future. And with that time perspective, $100, $200, $300, $400, still a bargain in my opinion.
And thinking it goes to...
I see significant upside in Tesla from current levels. I can't give you a specific number, but if the unit growth, if the automobile growth is there over the next couple of years and the free cash flow growth continues, I expect to see the shares significantly higher. It will, of course, be volatile, but if they execute, I think they will overcome some of the cyclical dynamics that we're certainly seeing in the near term.
Absolutely agree. That was brilliantly articulated. Just recapping, obviously, some very mixed opinions. The truth is, nobody knows what's going to happen to Tesla stock from here, at least over the short or medium term. But over the long term, I think it's pretty fucking obvious. Not going to lie. Curious, isn't it? A couple of folks saying lower from here, a couple of folks saying higher from here. Tesla's bottomed, Tesla hasn't bottomed. I'm waiting for this, that, or the other. Some interesting comments about a convoluted technical analysis / stocks astrology strategy, making it obvious that Tesla's going to go lower from here. But as I said, nobody actually knows what's going to happen. Although I can tell you what this guy hopes is going to happen. More turmoil, more red, Tesla stock getting absolutely ruined because I'm still buying. And my money's going a lot further at these levels than it will be at 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and $1,000 per share. Just out of interest. What do you guys think will happen? Is Tesla stock at the bottom, close to the bottom? Is it going lower? And what level will Tesla stock close out 2023 at? Leave your guess in the comments below. And lastly, don't forget, over 270 exclusive videos on Patreon and counting very rapidly. Recently made some major updates to my Tesla valuation model and price targets. Super spicy video yesterday, my thoughts on Andrew Tate, his arrest, the allegations. Big one today from corrupt pharmaceutical companies, one in particular. Some truly shameful stuff. Lots of content on health, longevity, well-being, productivity, goal setting, personal development, and loads more. If you're not already a member, you can join Patreon with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment. And I'll see you over there. Love ya.